You know what? Historically, an average empire exists for about 2 to 300 years. Okay. And of course, you'll be asking yourself, but Gustav, you didn't come on this live stream today to talk about empires. Just hang on to me. If you're joining me, I'm very, very happy you're on the line with me tonight. All right. But I want to talk to you about why it is imperative, why it is the right thing for you to stick and bet on the US stock market. But before I get that to that, let me say this, right? An average empire exists for about 200 to 300 years. That's what the historical facts are telling you and me. Okay. And what that means is that between those 2 to 300 years, averagely, they are in dominance. And they just don't disappear after the 300th year. No, they actually go through a process of building, of peaking, of stagnating, and then it starts to decline. And so when I look at that statistic, what that tells me is that looking at a country like America, it's no question. Over the last 80 years, America has been the number one empire in the world. Okay. At least that is not debatable. Now, when I look at the historical data, what that is telling me is that it's just been at the peak, at the top in the last 80 years. And so, of course, there is still a long runway for them to go. Now, a lot of things can change. The world is changing today a lot. There's technology changing. The world is a bipolar world. There are different axes around the world, different partnerships. But let me tell you something, guys. The question which is most people will be asking, and the reason why that question is a question you might also be asking is because there have been a lot of information on the news, okay? And if you're listening to the news, you would feel as if America is imploding. You feel as if the economy is disappearing in the next few months and everything is going into the drain. Let me tell you something. I want to remind you, you must always follow the numbers. You must always follow the data. Don't get emotional. You see, we're living in a time today where one of the big strategies the rich and powerful use is that they create fear. And when they create fear, the average people buy into the fear and they take decisions based on fear. And usually, when those decisions are based on fear, it's going to be the wrong decision. And in the case of investing, because I talk a lot about investing and accumulation of assets, in that case, a lot of people, when they get gripped by this fear and anxiety being propagated by the news, China is getting ahead, India is getting ahead, the world is bypassing America, it's going to overtake the US stock market, the market is tanking, guys. I just want to talk logically today. I want to walk you from the emotions into the way investors and long-term asset accumulators build wealth. It's never built by how you feel. It is built by what you rationally think and what the numbers say, right? So, of course, you most likely have been faced with that same question. What is going to happen to my assets? What is going to happen to America? Is America going to be existent in the next few years? Is the stock market going to disappear? And all that good stuff. And I want us to walk through it logically, slowly, but very carefully, right? Think about it this way. The real big question is not whether it's going to disappear because that's not happening anytime soon. The US economy is not going to sink in the next few months or something like that. No, it is not. Trust me on that one. What is going to happen is simply is whether they are going to be able to manage this period of pressure, this period of strategic realignment, and this period of external struggles. Now, you must understand something, guys. And I am a big student of history because the best predictor of future outcomes and future behaviors, a lot of times, is past behaviors. Okay. And when I think about past behaviors, I'm thinking about the fact that historically, the market has always risen above the fray. Historically, the market has grown by averagely 10% a year over the last 100 years. But that's not even the deal here. I want to talk to you today about the most powerful stock market in the world, the 10 powerful and ranked stock markets in the world. And when I give you some of those information, you'll be able now to make decisions based on logic. You'll be able to see that, yes, the news is important to inform me, but the news should not be relied upon because they too have their own agenda. And they are not serving everyday people like you. They are not serving everyday people like me. They are serving everyday rich people. And the rich people need to accumulate assets. And for them to accumulate the assets you own, they create fear. And when they create fear, you go selling your assets at the worst time in the market. And when you sell your assets at the discount, those rich guys scoop it up and wait. And in the next few years, those assets rise and they make millions and billions of dollars. So I want you, no matter your income level, no matter your professional level, I want you to think not based on where you are right now, but to think like the rich guys think. Because if you want to succeed in that game, you first of all have to start thinking like that before your body can even get there, right? But before we get into any of that, I want to say something. Based on the ranking, and this is global ranking here, right? This is not my estimation or anything. The number one stock market in the world, the largest, the most active, the most productive, and the stock market that has produced the highest amount of profit over the last many years in the world has been the US stock market. And I'll tell you this, think about it this way, guys. The global stock market is $54 trillion. I am saying all the stock markets in the world put together, if you put together all the assets being sold on the stock market, the value of those companies and all the assets being sold put together, it is $54 trillion, right? The US stock market is 44% of the global stock market. I want you to understand me here, guys. Again, listen here. I want you to understand me here because where we are today, you have to be careful, especially if you're an investor. A lot of the people who listen to me invest on the stock market. And I want to reassure you, I don't have no crystal ball, but I want to tell you that there is a historical pattern to these things. And I don't want you to work on how you feel. I don't want you to act on the thing the news is telling you because they are going to get you selling your assets at the worst time. I want you to understand because when you're watching all these different news channels, sometimes it feels like America is coming into annihilation. It feels like the US stock market is going to tank and nothing, and you're going to lose everything. Guys, step back for a minute. Step back for a minute. Zoom out a little bit. The US stock market is 44% of the global stock market, with the notable companies, of course, like Microsoft and Amazon. But think about it. The average return on the stock market over the last 20 years has been about, over the last 10 years, from 2014 to 2015, has been averagely about 13%. So if you invested $10,000 in 2014, in 2025, that amount of money would have been $34,000 because it would have grown 13% compounded over the last 10 years, right? Now, of that 44 trillion, of that $54 trillion, which is the global stock market, I want you to listen to me. 18 trillion of that is in 7 companies called the Magnificent Seven. The Magnificent Seven is Tesla, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Nvidia, Meta, and Google. These 7 companies account for 18 trillion of the 54 trillion global stock market. And these 7 companies are US-based companies. So, guys, I want you to understand something, right? Now, if the Magnificent Seven accounts for 18 trillion, right? And that is bigger than the market cap of Japan and China stock market put together. I want you to understand me here because sometimes when you're listening to these news outlets, I know it because I don't listen to the news, but every once in a while I stumble on clips on social media. They can make you feel like tomorrow is coming to end everything. Don't fall into that trap. I want to talk to people today who need clarity, who need understanding, who need reassurance to realize that, listen, in this game, it's a long game. And you just invest in trusted companies that you know, trust, like, and have researched, and ETFs and index funds, and you are going to be fine. You still have to bet on the US stock market if you have access to the US stock market. Hear me and hear me very well. Don't worry. Every once in a while, you hear announcements. China, Japan, they're selling off their treasury bonds. They want to pull out of the U.S. stock market. Let me tell you something. Those are for naive people to believe that stuff. There is a reason why a cross section of the Chinese business people and investors want to invest in the U.S. stock market and not in the China stock market. There's a reason why Japan is the same. There's a reason why Taiwan is the same. There is a reason why, of the 54 trillion global stock market value, 44% of that is the US stock market, guys. I don't know what it is going to be in 100 years, but I know that that doesn't disappear over 30, 40, 50 years. That's what I want to tell you today, right? And if you stay with me, I'm going to walk you through. Now let's look at the second largest stock market, right? This is the Chinese stock market. This is just $12 trillion. And think about it, China is over 1.4 billion people. Their stock market is $12 trillion. You can look at their GDP and all of that. I don't want to get into those scientific things. That's not my goal. I want to keep it simple for everybody to understand, right? And the Chinese stock market represents just 10% of the global stock market, as opposed to the US stock market that represents 44%. The notable Chinese companies you might have heard about, companies like Alibaba, NIO is an electric car company. Tencent deals with marketing. It's a marketing platform. It deals with technology and different things, right? Hear this. The average 10-year returns on the Chinese stock market between 2014 and 2024 is 2%. So if you had invested $10,000 in 2014, today it will be in 2025, it will be $12,000, as opposed to the US stock market, which the average return over that period of time has been 13%, guys. So, guys, I'm not sure where you're watching me from, but I usually just like to give you a shout out. If you want to drop your name, drop me where you're watching from. I usually like to call out and just know the different cities people are watching from and the different parts of the world people are watching from, right? It is important because that gives me a chance to know that our messages that we share is going far and wide around, right? It is going to a lot of places in the world that has value and that people can take advantage and certainly benefit from that. Just give me a minute here. Let me try to get. I just want to make sure I can see each and every one of you watching. Right? Exactly. Awesome. So here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal. Let's move to the third largest stock market in the world. The third largest stock market. So the first US, second China. The third largest stock market is the Japanese stock market. The size of that market is $6.2 trillion, right? And it represents only 5% of the global stock market. Now, the notable Japanese companies, you might know Toyota, Honda, Sony, Mitsubishi, all those great companies, right? The average 10-year return on the Japanese stock market between 2014 and 2024 is 7%. So if you had invested $10,000 in 2014, in 2024, you'll be sitting on $19,000, right? 15 of 20 top companies in the 90s used to be Japanese companies. But of course, that has changed significantly. Now, let's keep making progress, guys. One of the things each time I am doing a live stream like this, I like to do is, and it's something I've learned over my life, everything about wealth, legacy, purpose, money, getting ahead financially, there is always a spiritual element to it that is important. And I'm not talking spiritism here as a practice for public consumption or anything. I'm talking about finding a spiritual balance in you. That is why, for me, I'm a Christian and I usually lean on the Bible for guidance when it comes to that. I want to share with you, and I hope this speaks to somebody. A friend of mine shared it with me today. Romans 13:11. It says, and do this, understanding the present time, the hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber. There couldn't be a better one. And do this, understanding the present time, the hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber. I want to speak to people who are in a complete trance over the last many months or years, who for one reason or the other have given up to believe that their lives need to be directed by somebody else. Maybe you've lost some money on the stock market, especially if you're investing in assets and trying to build your life and build economic and financial freedom. I want you to understand that if you've been taking anything lackadaisically, this is not the time. You have to wake up. The time is here. When you're consuming news, you have to understand the news you're consuming, whether it is news that is helping you or it's news that is deceiving you. My goal here is to give you unfiltered information. I have no interest. I'm not selling anything to you here. I'm just telling you facts, things that are helping me and the people who are part of my community to go through difficult times like this. When the world is talking, when the news channels are telling you all kinds of things about the US economy, I want you to understand it's just a phase, right? If you have access, take advantage. Let's talk about the fourth largest stock market in the world. This is the Indian stock market, and that market size is $5.6 trillion. It represents just 4.6% of the global market. The notable companies from India, Infosys, Tata Consulting, average return 2014 to 2024 about 12%. So if you invested 10K in 2014, in 2024, it will be 32,000. That's not bad. Reasonably nice return. Excuse me. Sorry, I've been struggling with a cold. Reasonably nice return, right? Of course, this surpassed China as the most populous country in the world. So China has a bigger, India has a bigger population, and they also have a more youthful population that drives internal consumption. So strong economic growth and the rising middle class is helping that economy to churn on. So they are having some great returns. Let's see, the fifth one, the fifth largest stock market. Our neighbors in the north, Canada, $3.5 trillion out of the 54 trillion. That represents just 3% of the global market. And there are notable companies from Canada, Shopify, Royal Bank of Canada. And the Canadian stock market has produced about 6.4% over the last 10 years, 2014 to 2024. So if you invested 10,000 in 2014, in 2024, you'll be sitting about 19,000. Energy and mining sector, those are the big ones. And let me just mention the seed to the tent, and then we'll come back to the main conversation, right? The sixth is the French economy, France stock market, right? The French stock market, 3.5 trillion, represents 3% of the global stock market. The big French companies, Total Energies, you know that Airbus, they make planes, Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton is actually a mother company, right? It's called LVMH. It owns the Louis Vuitton brand, Gucci. It owns liquor, champagnes, different brands that you know. The average return of the French stock market over the last 10 years has been 2014, 2024 has been 8%. 10,000 invested in 2014, you'll be sitting on 21,000 in 2024. Important thing, the French economy is the second largest economy in the European Union after Germany, and it focuses on luxury goods, finance, and energy sector. Good. And please feel free, if you have a question, drop that down in the comment section, all right, as we get along. If you have a question, drop that down. And I'm glad to have the Baron on the line. Good evening, the Baron. Glad to have you on the line. My friend Guwin Mufo, all the way from Cameroon. I'm glad to have you, Dr. Timo. Glad to have you, Roland Fonda, and everybody else watching. I'm glad to have all of you on the line here. Drop any question you might have, right? And before we even move forward, I just want to inform you this before I forget. There is a big challenge, especially for people making $100,000 and more, right? I've been talking to a lot of people making six figures and more, and they are feeling the pressure. And if you still feel like your money disappears every month and you're one of those who you think, you know what, you're not really showing up the right way, your finances is not representative of how hard you work, right? And you don't really know the reason why. Because most people think they have an income problem. Trust me, guys, most people don't. Most people have a structural problem. They have a clarity problem. And here's the truth. I want to tell you, if you don't fix this, it doesn't matter how much you earn next year, whether it's 120, 150, 200, you'll still feel stuck because there is a leakage in the back end. And that's exactly why I'm hosting a free masterclass this Thursday in 3 days, right? I'll be hosting a free masterclass. And this masterclass is called the Paycheck Trap: Why High Income Earners Still Feel Broke, and the 5 Hidden Leaks Draining Your Money. If you're feeling that way, join that masterclass. It's going to be on Thursday. I'm going to leave the link down in this video. You can click on the link, register. It's a free masterclass. Unfortunately, we will not be able to do a replay of it. So if you don't join it on Thursday, you will not have a replay to go back and watch. right? But join that masterclass, guys. It's going to be very powerful, and we have limited seating. It's going to really give you some context, help you, especially if you're struggling with structure, you're struggling with being able to have clarity, how to organize your money, how to invest it, how to position it, how to grow. Basically, you need to join that free masterclass on Thursday, all right? And it's going to be at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. It starts at 7 to 8 p.m. Central. So that's 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's just 1 hour. And that will probably be one of the most important 1 hours of your month and your year. Now, in that session, I'm going to go deeper than what I can do here. Of course, during my live streams, I try to give you as much information, but I also cannot get into certain depth, right? I'm going to show you the exact leaks draining your money every single month. Why earning more is not necessarily going to solve your problem right now, because it's like you're putting more water in a basket. And most importantly, how to build a system where your money actually starts working for you, because that is the most important thing you need to understand, right? How to build a system that is easy, is repeatable, is easy to implement, and is stress free for you. Those are the things we'll be talking about in that free masterclass. So I hope to see you in that masterclass, okay? The seventh largest stock market in the world, that's the United Kingdom stock market. That's 3.1 trillion. There are popular companies, HSBC, AstraZeneca, which is a pharmaceutical, Unilever, which is a consumer product company. The average 10-year return, 4%, nothing great. 10K invested for 10 years, it will be about 15,000. So let's look. The eighth, the Saudi Arabian stock market, 2.7 trillion, owns about 2.2% of the global stock market. The most popular company, Saudi Aramco, average 10-year returns about 8%. That's not bad. Saudi Arabia is the largest economy in the Middle East. This is the only known US $1 trillion company in the US, other than Taiwan's semiconductor. So the Saudi Aramco company is the only known US $1 trillion worth company on the US stock market, other than Taiwan semiconductors. The rest of the $1 trillion $1 trillion worth companies on the US stock market are US owned companies. So it's important to understand that. The ninth is German economy, 2.2 trillion. The global stock market percentage is 1.8. Notable companies from Germany, Mercedes, BMW, automotive manufacturing, those are their strengths, right? Siemens Communication, SAP, and the BASF. 10-year returns, 4%. Value of 10K invested over 10 years, 2014 to 2024 would have been 15K, right? This is the largest economy in Europe and fourth largest in the world. And the 10th largest stock market in the world is the Taiwanese stock market. That has 2 trillion worth of assets on that market. It represents just 1.7% of the global stock market. And the popular companies on that market is the TSM Thailand Semiconductors and Foxconn. Foxconn produces gadgets like Apple computers, Apple phones. It's a manufacturing company. The average 10-year returns of Taiwan is actually better than the US stock market, 14.6% over the last 10 years. So if you invested 10K in 2014, you'll be sitting on about $39,000 in 2024. Now, the largest tech and chip manufacturing contractor for companies like Apple, right, is the company called Foxconn. So there's also, of course, the geopolitical risk with Taiwan because of the influence China has and all of that. But here is the deal, guys. I just wanted to share this with you to come back to a point. And the point I want to make today is, listen, you have to understand something, especially in these times, especially as an investor, especially investing on the stock market and investing your hard-earned money. Don't get carried away by the hype. Don't get deceived by the news. The US stock market is still your best bet to invest your money in companies that are public, that are proven, and that are trusted. You don't need to panic. You don't need to go ahead and start selling your assets thinking that the market is going to tank and is going to stay down forever. Yes, the stock market has dropped significantly over the last 3 months, but that is not unusual. It is going to rise again, right? And I tell this to a lot of people. If you cannot stomach the news, turn it off. Don't watch it, because the human mind is like a sponge. As you keep watching, you keep absorbing, and by their very human nature, it becomes true in your mind if you're not careful. So don't watch it, because those are the things that are going to deceive you, and you're going to sell your asset at a loss. And when you're selling those assets at a loss, there are people who are picking them up and going to hold it for a longer period and make some profits. I hope this has given you a sense of what and how to navigate these difficult times. Because you wake up in the morning, all you hear is, the Strait of Hormuz, America attacked Iran, the war is going to stretch for another 1 year. Forget about all that stuff. You cannot control that. What do you want to do? You want to go fight? What are you going to do? Nothing. President Trump will make the decisions here and his cabinet members want to make. They will go into war. If they want to put troops on the ground in Iran, they will put troops on the ground. I usually say, don't worry about the White House, worry about your own house. All right. So I hope this information has helped you quite some. I hope it gives you perspective. It calms down your spirit. It lets you understand that these things are typical. This is the cycle. This is how it works. This is the rotation of the US economy. And this is the rotation of the US stock market. But let me tell you this and let me remind you again. Generally, within the first 2 months of an invasion, especially a political war that America wages, generally the prices of oil will spike. But usually 12 months after invasion, the stock market bounces back and rises by an average of 8% or more. I want you to understand me very well, guys. Everything that I'm saying has already happened. When US invaded Iran, what happened? Automatically, the prices of oil rose, right? And when that rises, after about 2 months, it will stabilize. After the prices of oil rises, usually it's out of fear. Stock prices are going to drop. Yes, the market is going to tank for a little bit. But 12 months after that invasion, the market would have bounced back and rises by an average of about 8% or more. So I need you to understand these things. It happens like clockwork. 98% of the time, that is how it has happened. Go back to the Iraq war. Go back to the Iran war of the 70s. Go back to the name it, any kind of invasion America has been involved in. That is the pattern. So once you understand that pattern, you realize that you don't need to panic. You don't need to fear. You don't need to worry unless you bought assets that you don't trust that are going to be valuable in the long term. If you're buying valuable companies, you don't have anything to worry. That is why it is important to have mentorship. It is important to have somebody who knows what they are doing to guide you, to lead you in this journey, because you are actually working with your hard-earned money. You are not working here with monopoly dollars. This is hard-earned money. So you want to make sure you are investing it in a way that can last for a long time and in companies that you trust and that research has been done and are proven to be able to deliver value over time. So I hope this information has been of value to you. Take it, as I usually say, use it the best you can. Of course, I'm not a certified financial advisor. I'm not giving any kind of financial advice here. I'm just sharing my experiences. I'm sharing knowledge, and I serve as a wealth coach at the same time also as a legacy architect. And I work with first and second generation immigrants who have done everything right, work hard, do everything by the book, but still feel behind on their purpose and their pocketbooks. Who feel like, listen, I am making so much money, but I'm not able to convert that into seeds that I can plan to generate more money for me. You must understand something. Money will always make more money on money than money will always make on labor. Understand laborers can only, with laborers, the generations that come after laborers usually have to start the process over every year. But with people who build wealth, with people who own assets, they can transfer those assets to their next of kin, and their next of kin can continue to grow it. That's why it is important that in this era, you are focused on ownership. You are focused on accumulating assets. Don't be focused only on how much money you make from your job. That is temporary because you are one stop away from annihilation. If you get fired, you get sick, you cannot work anymore, automatically money stops. That is a dangerous plan. That is why I talk about the era of ownership movement. This is important for you to understand. This is the era. Don't joke. Don't joke. This is the time. You must own assets. You must. Because those are the things that are going to get you out of difficult times. Those are the things that you can hand over to your children. My portfolios on Fidelity, my portfolios on Robin Hood, those are assets I will leave to my children. And my children will not be able to take the money and use. I will put it in a way that there's a certain amount that goes to them without affecting the capital. And that capital will continue to grow for my children, my great grandchildren. That is how you do it, guys. That's what you call a legacy. That is why I'm not just a finance guy. That's why I don't spend all my time just talking to you the mechanics of how to make money and multiply your money. That is mechanical. We can do that. You can go to any channel on YouTube, you will hear that information. I talk to you first of all about the mindset and the spirit that it takes to become that person. I talk to you about uncovering the most important thing that you can uncover in your life, which is your purpose. Because when you identify what you are born to do, what you are gifted to do, what your assignment is, and you package that with a need in the global market, nobody can stop you from becoming a very successful person, both internally from the perspective of peace and externally from the perspective of material wealth. So it's not just enough to have money. It's not enough to make money. It's not enough to invest. It is also enough to be able to look at your life and realize that it is not only about you, but it is also about the impact you can create for other people that come in contact with your life. I'll be talking on the different live shows I'll be talking about on multiple different things, but most of it will be centered around wealth building, around building a purpose. Sorry, around building a legacy, because your legacy is what lives when you're alive and what you leave when you leave this world. I want you to understand that your legacy is what lives while you're alive and what you leave when you leave this world. I don't know if it makes sense. We must get comfortable with those things. In fact, it has to become a prime focus in our lives, because one of the things that you would have noticed in most of our communities, wealth building ends with one generation. You know, a generation where maybe somebody came up, worked hard, made some money, immediately the father dies, everything stops. Everything finishes, everything stops. Nobody else can move it forward. You know why? It wasn't a money problem. I grew up in Bamenda in Cameroon, in West Africa. I saw a lot of very successful and rich people make a lot of money, and when they pass on, somehow everything falls apart. I realized that the challenge is not only the money, it's not only making the money, but the challenge is also building the people that have the ability to carry the vision forward. That is why I don't talk only about investing and making money. I also talk about the mindset. I talk about the spiritual strength. I talk about becoming that person that can deliver on these visions, because it is important. Until the mind can conceive and believe it, the body can never achieve it. I hope somebody is listening to me here. Until the mind can conceive and believe it, the body can never achieve it, because the most important asset you will ever own in your life is you and your mind and your spirit and your belief in what you are doing and what you're capable of doing. And belief doesn't come automatically. Belief comes from doing it wrong and failing the first time, and then doing it again and again and gaining mastery and becoming right. Belief is a deep-seated confidence that you have in you, just like a bird that is sitting on a branch. That bird is not counting on that branch for its safety. It is counting on its ability to fly in case the branch breaks. I don't know if somebody is feeling me here tonight. So confidence, belief, self-belief comes from confidence, and confidence comes from the ability of doing something over time and gaining mastery in that thing. And the only way you gain mastery in something, you do it wrong until you learn how to do it right, and then you do it right. You can ask anybody who've achieved anything meaningful with their life. The beginning is usually difficult. You can ask think about your own life. When you started walking, what happened? You stood up, you fell, hit your head, probably hit your butt, cried, right? But at that time, you had mastered creeping and crawling. So what happens when you try to walk, you fall, you go back to what you've mastered, which is crawling. But now, because you're trying to master a new skill, which is the ability to walk, it requires you to stretch yourself. And by stretching yourself, you're exposing yourself to risk, the risk of falling, the risk of getting hurt, the risk of hitting your butt. But you recognize that without you walking, you will not be able to get to the next level, and you will not be able to achieve what you are capable of achieving, which includes walking, playing soccer, doing all the different things that you do because you are able to walk. But you also recognize that to get there, this is the painful path you have to walk through. That's why I'm saying that even in this time, even when the economy seems rough, even when you're listening to the news and they're telling you the American stock market is going to be burnt out, China and the other countries are becoming the great superpowers, it's a lie. An average superpower lasts about 2 to 300 years. Trust me on that one. America is not going to disappear overnight. The US stock market is not going to disappear overnight. Don't listen to that. Don't fall into that trap. Stay consistent. Understand that these times when the market is down, it's like you're just trying to move to that next level. This is the time actually where intelligent investors accumulate the most amount of wealth, because wealth is not built in bull markets. Wealth is not built when the market is green and the market is hot and everybody is making money. No, wealth is built in the bear market, because the people who build wealth in the bull markets are the people who had bought at a cheap price during the bear market, which is now. I don't know if I make sense. The people who build wealth in the bull market are the people who bought in the bear market. In 2022, around November, there was a scandal with Facebook, Meta, which is the mother company of Facebook. The stock price of Facebook dropped all the way down to about $88. Today, that price is about $578, even though it has dropped about $100 over the last few months because of the general drop on the market. But Facebook, I don't have a crystal ball, but I know that Meta is going to be $1,000 in the next few years. So somebody who bought 1,000 shares in 2022 at $88 for 88,000. In the next 2 to 3 years, if the share goes to $1,000, that person has $1,000,000 for investing $88. Guys, what kind of business can give you that kind of return for doing nothing? Just buying and holding. You have to understand, when it comes to investing on the stock market, let me tell you where the money is. Guys, let me tell you where the money is. The money is not in the buying or the selling. The wealth is in the waiting. The ability to sit on the ownership of that asset and don't do nothing. A lot of people tell me, Mr. Achu, they want to build generational wealth, but they don't want to hold an asset for a generation. I was talking to a prospect the other day, and the person came to me because one of the first questions when you come to me to work with you on investing and building your portfolio and making sure we can set you up for consistent investment that will drive you to the $1,000,000 mark, one of the first questions I usually ask you, what is your time horizon? If you're just coming in to invest for 1, 2 years, I'm not the person you want to talk to. I'm not in the business of quick wins. I'm not in the business of trading. I'm not in the business of planting today and harvesting next week. I'm not in that kind of business. If you want to build wealth, especially accumulating assets, leveraging the top companies on the US stock market, you need between 7 to 10 years of continuous compounding, because compound interest is like a diesel engine. If you know diesel engines, for those of you who might have gone in Africa and different parts where you travel with these buses that have diesel engines, when the bus takes off, it doesn't go as fast as it would like to go. You hear the engine grinding harder. You hear the sound a little bit awkward. You hear it louder. But as the car goes, the engine gets warmer, and as it gets warmer, it gets faster. And at that time, the car can even go faster. That's how compound interest is. That's the eighth wonder in the world. So what you are really doing is, anytime you're trying to invest and your whole horizon is a short period of time, you are not taking advantage of that interest. You are not taking advantage of what is possible. You are not taking advantage of what you can really benefit from that. Right? Think about it for a second. I was watching a very interesting video, and let me share my screen with you here, guys. Let me share my screen with you for a minute, okay? And just show you something. Let me see. Oh yeah, no, this one present. Let me share screen. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So let's do something here, okay? Let's do a very simple calculation, okay? That's incredible. It's incredible because let me tell you why. I was listening to a young lady today, and I'm going to be having her on my podcast coming up in about 3 weeks, okay? Let me share something with you. This lady said something and it blew my mind, because I'm like, yes, she gets it. And I hope many more people understand this. Some of us understood it later in our lives. And so if you're listening to me right now, maybe you're in your 30s, you're in your early 40s, even if you're in your 50s, it's not late. Trust me. The number one wealth building machine in America is the US stock market. The US stock market is the largest stock market in the world. It owns 44% of all the invested capital. That's why, if you are able, you have to be participating in the US stock market. If you are not, you are shooting yourself in the foot for nothing, guys. Listen, that lady said something is so powerful. They have two kids, I think 3 and 4 or something. And for the two kids, they have already been able to invest $100,000 for their college tuition thus far. No, they're about 6 and 5, 5 and 6 years. So in the last 6 years, they were able to invest $100,000 for their college tuition, and they are not going to do anything else for those kids. That's it. They have stopped putting any money aside for them. Think about it this way, and they are, let's just say they are 6 years old, right? So that money, by the time they go to college at 18, that's 12 years from today. Let's just do 12 years. Let's put an average here of just even 10%. Let's not do anything much. And they're not adding anything else to that amount of money. Let's see what will be available for those kids when they're going to college. So the $100,000 they put today, 12 years from today, is going to be 314,000 available to those children when they are going to college. So their parents don't need to spend a dime on them. But this is even the important and the interesting part. This is actually a wealth foundation they've given their children. How does this work? Think about it. If they go to college, they work very hard, they study hard, they get scholarships. Let's assume they don't use this money, and the money just sits there. Nobody adds a dime to that money. By the time they are 40 years old, they are 6 years old today. So let's make it 34 years, right? By the time they're 40 years old, let's see what that money will be like. The damn thing will be $2.5 million. And they haven't done anything different. They haven't added a dime to that. They haven't done anything. The kids haven't done nothing about it. They have just invested it on the US stock market and let it sit. Guys, that's why I tell you this, guys. And I don't say this to try to impress nobody, right? It's a learning process. For most of us, we must understand how these things work, all right? And once you understand how these things work, you never go back to the lie. It took me years to understand it. And once I finally understood it, I told myself I will share this with anybody who has ears. Let me tell you something, guys. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter what point in your life you are at. It doesn't matter how much you make. The number one most democratic system of making money and building wealth in this world is the US stock market. Because it doesn't matter your color, it doesn't matter your race, it doesn't matter your tribe, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, it doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor, it doesn't matter your last name, whether you are from what family. All that matters is if you have the desire, you have the willingness, you have the discipline, and you're willing to put away a certain amount of money every week, every month, for a period of time, you are going to end up successful, ultra rich, and generations after you will become rich without doing anything. So I want to encourage you today that if you don't understand how these things work, reach out. I have links all over there. You can book a one-on-one appointment for a small fee. Let's talk about your specific situation. Let's talk about what it is that you want to achieve, and I'll help craft a personalized plan for you. I do that for a lot of people. Of course, there is a fee for that, but that's small stuff for setting you up to become a millionaire in 10, 15 years, depending on how much you want to invest. Guys, this stuff is no joke. This is real deal. This is real stuff, all right? And so I hope this information is helping somebody out there. I hope it is making sense to somebody. I hope it is helping somebody see the possibility that lies ahead, to understand that as much as you work hard, you make money during the day, but you build wealth and in your sleep. It is Warren Buffett who said, if you can only make money while you are awake, then you're going to die broke. Because while you are sleeping, some other people have assets that are making money for them while they are sleeping. And if you're counting only on when you are awake, then you're going to die broke, because your human body can only go so far. I am 49 years young, and I know exactly how I feel. I know that some of the things I used to do when I worked to be like a licensed practical nurse, for example, or I worked in my last 12 years, 13 years, I worked in IT. I don't know if I can really do that again. I have to be honest with you. I don't know if I can put in that volume of work, those 10, 12 hours a day. I get up in the morning. I leave 1 hour from downtown. I drive. I wake up at 6. I have to be in the office by 7:30. I drive in the traffic for 1 hour, 30 minutes. I get there. I close. I drive for 1 hour, 3 hours a day. And then you multiply that by 5 days. That's 15 hours of driving. And then it's good. I don't deny. But what I'm saying is that you must understand something, guys. As much as you're working physically, you must also get your money working for you. And there is, of course, no safe investment per se, which is 100%. There's no guarantee. But I really believe the safest place for most people to invest their money is in the US stock market. Especially if you can get a coach, a guide to help guide you, you are set. You are set. You just have to do it consistently. I was in a call yesterday with a prospect of mine. And when I showed her what is possible if she is just disciplined, if she just stays the track, if she just continues investing the amount of money she's capable of investing continuously. In 10 years' time, she'll be worth $1.2 million. At that time, she'll be 53 years old. And that is just going to be only about 25% of her income that she's investing, because she was making double six figures and she's been confused because the last 5 years, she's not seeing where her money is going to. She cried on the call. She wept when I showed her certain things. She said she never understood. She never even knew that that was possible. She's been saving some of her money. She's been spending on frivolous things, getting some crazy investments, buy this, buy that land, build this apartment, all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's a time for everything. There is no reason why you live in America or you have access to the US stock market and you take your active capital. Let me tell you something, guys. You take your active capital and you go put it in a debt asset, like building a big apartment. It's a dead asset. It's going to take you 40 years to get a return on that money. You know what? In those 40 years, you could invest that money in the US stock market. That money will be growing, and then you borrow against that asset on the stock market while the capital is still working for you. You take the borrowed money at 5% and you go put it in a debt asset if that is very important to you. So that even when it's not making money for 40 years, your capital is not dormant and you are not frustrated. Maybe you've even taken some loans to go do that. We must understand how these things work, guys. We got to understand. We are the hardest working people in America. Immigrants are the hardest working people in this country. No community works like immigrants in this country. But the other immigrant communities have moved forward because they've understand how the capitalist game works. Capitalism is not a bad thing. Debt is not necessarily a bad thing. I'll be doing another live stream on the good debt and the bad debt. Okay? It's called leverage. The reason why America is great is because America has the greatest leverage power. America is a few countries in the world where you can come in and you can own a 500,000 asset, which is your home. You only put down 10%, which is 50,000, but you have control over a $500,000 asset. Do you know what that means? Imagine that you had to come up with $300,000 to buy a home. Would you be able to ever buy a home if you had to come up with that cash? Now, this is what is called leverage. And I'm going to be teaching a lot on some of these concepts because trust me, guys, if you are not informed, you are going to be deformed. All right? And sometimes when I teach these things, don't think I have a specific bias against a particular kind of business. No. I'm just telling you the things. It's taken me a while to learn them. I've spent time to learn. I have been burned too. I've done some crazy stuff. I've been shipping containers many years ago to Africa trying to sell things. No. Wasted my time. Wasted my time. I just did a simple math on the $44,000 I spent in 2004, buying new pair of shoes from DSW. At that time, DSW had some massive 80-90% sales. I bought 4,000 pairs of shoes. Took them home to Cameroon to sell them. Wasted my money. If I had just taken that $40,000 and put in an S&P 500 index fund, today it will be worth about $220,000 without doing nothing. So I want to say this, guys. The beauty about the time we live is that the possibilities are endless. If you are even if you are an entrepreneur, you don't have to be an employee. Even if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be investing too on the stock market. Let me tell you why. I'm an entrepreneur. I know what it takes to build a business. Okay. The risk entrepreneurs take are exponentially higher. A lot of times you start in business, you are not even sure you're going to make money for the first 3 to 5 years. An average business to start generating profit and becoming stable takes about 5 to 7 years. And so, even when you become stable and you start making money from that business, it is important to invest in assets on the stock market. You know why? Because in that business you are doing, you are certainly not a monopoly. Things can change anytime. And if things change, that business no longer is producing as much as it used to produce. You are not stuck only with the income that comes out of that business. You have something else. I was watching this guy, he's called Scott Galloway. Scott Galloway is one of the top business professors in America. He teaches in, um, I think, in Columbia University, in or his New York School of Business or something. And Scott Galloway said something. He said over the last 35 years, he built about 5 companies and sold them for upwards of 100 million and more, right? But he said something very powerful. He said when he looks back at his life, he would have done it differently. How? When he sold his first 3 companies, which was a total in about 10 years, which was a total of about 60 something $million, he would have put about half of that money on the stock market. That way, he will not have as much pressure to go out and create new businesses. And in that process of creating new businesses, for those who are businessmen, they know that business is tough. Sometimes if things go south, you might sacrifice a lot of things. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who have lost their families, who have lost friends, who have lost in the fight of trying to build a business. So it's not easy. So he said if he had to do it again, he would have reduced his risk exposure by investing on the stock market in companies that are proven. If you invest in Microsoft, you don't have to work for Microsoft. You invest in Tesla, you invest in Apple, you don't have to work for Apple, right? Guys, so I'm just sharing this information so that way you understand how these things are possible. And that it doesn't matter whether you're an employee, you're an entrepreneur, you are retired, you are in your 40s, you are in your 50s. It might not be the same time for you if you're in your 40s and 50s, but it's not completely over for you. It just means that you might have to invest a little bit more if you want to get to your target. But all I'm telling you is that 0% of zero is zero. You miss 100% of shots you don't take. That's how it works. People, I was reading an article the other day. Kobe Bryant has, I think he's the second or third highest scorer in the history of the NBA. He has a shooting record. But what nobody talks about is the amount of shots he missed. Everybody talks about the shots he made. Nobody talks about the fact that he took the highest number of shots too in order to become the highest scorer. So, guys, I want to leave you today with just some encouragement, right? To understand that this is your time. To understand that you can no longer be on the sidelines. The people who are on the sidelines are going to lose heavily. There is in this time and age, there is no way you can hide under the blanket. If you watch, I watch National Geographic quite a lot, and I love programs on the desert and ostriches. And when there is a desert storm, the ostrich will go and hide his head in the sand, but its entire massive body is outside. In this era, in this age, in this time, you can no longer hide. You have to step up. You have to step up instead of trying to just navigate your way through guesswork. No, get the education you need. Lean on to the mentors that you need. Let me tell you something. You are never too old to learn. You are never too young to teach. I have mentors who are older than me, and I have mentees who are young. I have mentors who are older than me, and I have mentors who are younger than me. I listen to them. I follow them. I learn from them. I also have mentees who are older than me and mentees who are younger than me. So in this era, one of the things you have to give up is pride. Drop that pride thing. Drop it. Drop it. It's your life. It's nobody's life. It's your life. I'm talking to you. Listen to me right now. It's your life. Don't try to impress nobody. You are the one feeling the pinch. You are the one hearing the shoes. You are the one, you know your finances. You are the one who is struggling. If you need help, you need somebody to guide you. Reach out to that person. Find out how they can help you. Don't buy into that stuff. Let me tell you guys, we are living in a time today where the opportunities abound like never in the history of the world. But these opportunities belong to the people who are audacious. It belongs to the people who are willing to step out of where they are comfortable. It belongs to the people who are willing to take a certain amount of measurable risk. It belongs to the people who are willing to put themselves out in public and accept that, yes, a small number of people might be able to judge me, but the majority of people will be judging me based on what I'm sharing with them. I struggled with that too for quite a while. That's why it took me a while to really get into my purpose, because I always thought about the small number of people who knew me personally. Today, I have over 10,000 people who follow me on different social media platforms. I don't know them. They don't know me personally, but they respect the knowledge I share with them. They respect the information I give them. They use it and they see how their life transforms. So I want to encourage you sitting out there, because in this economy we are living today, things are different. The Baron, I want to encourage you, step up, show us your business, talk about your business, hype your business, market your business, because you are doing something important. You're one of the top used tires vendors in the Georgia area, in Atlanta area. That is huge business. That is gold, guys. Go try to get a license to sell used tires and see if you're going to get the license. You know why they protect the license? Because they want to keep it amongst them with their friends. I learned it in Minnesota many years ago. To get a license to sell these things we call junkyard. Go try to get a junkyard license and see if they'll give you. It's difficult because those are money. That is areas where diamond and gold belongs. You know what it means to buy an accidented car for $500 and you sell only the windscreen for $1,000? By the time you part that whole car, it's about $5,000. That's 1,000% of profit. Guys, I don't know if I make sense here. It's the same thing on the stock market. You would buy companies that today might be $200. In the next 5 to 7 years, that $2,000 a share. You didn't do nothing. You have to understand how this works. That is called leverage. That is called multiplication, right? And if you don't have the willingness to listen to programs like this, follow coaches like me, understand how these things work, you are going to be playing in the game where you are only counting on your physical body, and your body is going to fail you. Because you will get old, you might get sick, it will break down. And once that happens, you find yourself in a very difficult situation. It's not good. We are seeing the numbers today. What is it telling us? We're seeing a lot more younger people in their 50s, early 50s, late 50s, stroke, this, that, all those things. A big part of it is stress. And I'm not saying that, listen, you must work hard. There is no question. I am just saying that the memo we had when we started our lives is work hard. No, you have to work hard for a period of time. But during that time when you're working hard, you want to make sure you put your money in situations to be working harder, so that way it can liberate you. That is the kind of freedom I'm talking about here, guys, right? And so it makes it now very, very important and very, very emergent that whatever you are doing, you must have a plan for multiplying the money you make. Because if that money is not being multiplied while you are listening to me online, if you don't have assets that are generating money for you or that are growing in value while you are here listening to me, you are playing the game wrong. You are playing the game wrong. You are playing the game wrong because you're only counting on your body. That's dangerous. Sorry, guys, I'm having a cold the last few days. You're counting only on you're counting only on your body. That's dangerous. You're putting yourself at a massive risk, right? So my goal every day when I do these live shows is to be able to give you tangible information that you can take and use, implement, and your life will start changing. I'll be doing a free masterclass on Thursday. I will leave the link after this. Register and join that masterclass. I'll be going in depth in some of these things, right? I'll be sharing with you different things, different possibilities, how to go about. I'll be sharing with you how you can work with me if you want to work with me. If you don't want to work with me, I will still give you information that you can use for your own self, by your own self, and you'll see results. But if you want to accelerate your results, that is when a coach becomes very important. That is when you need a mentor. If you want to go faster and you want to go with a lot more certainty and a lot more clarity. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you found some value. Again, each time you're coming to my live streams, I usually recommend and advise people to bring a notepad and a pen so that you can take notes, right? You can drop ideas. All the things I'm talking to you, I wasn't born with these things in my head. I learned them too. I learned them. I humbled myself. There was a time in my life I sat in front of the mirror. I said, Gustav, this plan is not working. This wasn't your dream when you were growing up. This wasn't the goal. You're sitting here at the age of 30. If your dad has a $10,000 emergency, do you have $10,000 somewhere you can send to him? And the answer was no. I said, that plan is not working. I have to do something different. I have to. And that's when I started digging in my own self. I started asking the questions that all of you need to be asking. What is it that comes to me like a natural gift? Number one. Number two, what is it? And do you know how you can even know some of those things? Think about the things people come to you for. What do people always ask you for help for? People think about this whole thing about purpose and your gift as if it's some magic. It's not magical. You just need to spend time to analyze a little bit. What is it people ask you for? When I was trying to uncover my own, I sent questions to close people around me. About 25 people. I sent them a question. I said, listen, help me out here. What are some of the things you think I'm good at? What are the things you think I can help you with? And when they told me, I started analyzing, I realized it makes sense because these things came to me naturally, but I never took the time to understand them and to understand how I can put them together. The first thing, what is that gift? What is it that comes to you naturally? What is it that people come to you for? The second thing, what is it that you love to do? Because don't follow your passion alone. That's a big lie. Stop that. Let's stop that crap, okay? Let's stop that whole social media bullshit. Follow your passion. Follow your passion. No, 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 no. It's not enough. Passion is not enough, guys. Passion doesn't pay bills. Passion doesn't secure your financial future. No. You have to, yes, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. But when you look at the gift you have, what comes to you easy, natural. Now you see, are you passionate about it? Is it something you like? The third thing, is it something that people need to transform their life? Can it make a change to somebody? That's the third thing. And then the fourth thing, how do you package that and bring it to the marketplace so that the market can exchange that gift for money? I don't know if I make sense. In my case, for a very long time in my life, from the time I was a young person, I've always been very comfortable with communication. I used to be the president of the CIA. CIA in CPC Bali is our local newspaper. I was the Alma Mater Prize winner in CPC. I was the president of the choir. I've always communicated. I've always led people, right? Even in class, I was the one who they will call to be the MC for class events. I was the MC at my school events in high school, secondary school, university. And then when now I started asking myself those big questions, I realized a lot of these gifts are already in me. It comes to me naturally. The next question I had to ask myself, how can I use this to transform people's lives? Now, if I need to use the gift of communication, if I need to use the gift of being able to persuade somebody to do something that they might be afraid not to do, but that is helpful for them, then I have to be able to strengthen that gift by being able to acquire the knowledge that it takes to give information that can transform people. Excuse me for a minute. Excuse me, sorry. Now, so I need to get the information that it takes to be able to put that thing to the gift together in a way that makes a difference to the next person. Right? That is the second thing. The third thing now, how do I fine tune it? Because the world is not going to pay you for general information. Information is everywhere. People don't pay for information. People pay for transformation. Every day, over 2 million people produce content on YouTube. Sorry, 200 million people. So information is not what is lacking. What is lacking is information that can take you from point A to point B. That is why anytime you watch my live streams, you watch the videos I do, I am always giving you not only information, but I'm giving you actual implementable information. Because if you cannot use that information to implement and see transformation in your life, it is useless to me. I'm no longer at the information giving stage. I've passed that stage many years ago. I'm now at the transformational stage. That is why some of my services Like what I do now, this is my community service. This is how I serve my community. I provide you, but then if you need additional one-on-one work, you need us to work together, you pay for those services. And the reason why you pay for them is because I am going to give you something that transforms your life. And in exchange, you are giving me what I want, which is a source of living. I don't know if it makes sense. So passion is not enough. I was just trying to explain to you that in this time and age we live, you have a lot of things in you that can come to the marketplace and become useful. You have a lot of things in you that people need. You just need to spend some time fine tuning it. Like with everything, listen, sometimes people tell me, man, you are so gifted. I laugh because do you know of a gifted surgeon? My friend brother is online watching Thomas Commander. He's an entrepreneur. He's on one of the top the truck driving schools in Texas. He's the truck owner. He's done a lot of businesses. Is he a gifted businessman? He learned it. He learned those skills. He learned how to drive a truck. He learned how to run a business. He learned how to operate a business. He learned how to sell ideas. He learned how to get the state to give him contracts to train people to make them truck drivers so they can help move cargo around America. Yes, you can have a gift, but that's not enough. You have to fine tune it. And fine tuning requires spending some time on it. It requires focus. It requires dedication. Sometimes it even requires giving attention, taking attention from every other thing and focusing on that gift. Yes. That's why if you're trying to achieve something significant with your life, there is a price you will pay. It's not free. There is a price you will pay. The difference is a lot of times the successful people don't talk about that price. You see the story, but you see the glory, but you don't know the story. You don't understand. But if you want to get there, be ready for these things because this is how it happens. There's a price you have to pay, but you have the gift in you. You have that endowment in you. You have those things in you. You can improve on them, fine tune them. And when you fine tune them, that's when the marketplace is willing to pay you top dollar for that. If you need me today, for example, to come and help your association raise funds as an MC, it's very simple. Nothing complex, but I have a price range I deal with. I charge you a flat fee for my logistics, my transportation, and my flat fee payment. And then I take 5 to 10% of all the money I raise. And of course, my fee is not small. My fee ranges from about $6,000 to $10,000, depending on the association and other things. And then I take a percentage of what it is. If you want me to work with you one-on-one on building your portfolio, on helping you build wealth and all of those things, there is a price for that. You register, you click on the link, you book an appointment, we talk one-on-one. I put together a specialized, customized plan for you. But at the end of the day, you are the one who is going to benefit. Like I was talking to a client of mine yesterday, when I showed her everything, I told her, this is all you need to do. I will do my part, which is setting it up. You have to do your part. Be disciplined. Be focused. I will automate the system. Your part is just to make sure you keep doing your own part. The money will move over. It will be invested. We'll get together every 3 months to just make sure everything is fine. And in 10 years, you're going to see where you're sitting. You don't even have to wait to 10 years. In the next 2 years, you are going to see it. In the next 1 year, you will see the progression. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You will see how it is progressing. And you will realize that whatever I charged you as a fee was free because you would have already recovered that in the first 6 months of the growth of your investment. So, guys, we have to understand how these things work. There is a price for everything. There's a price even for ignorance. There's a price for doing nothing. Honestly, there is a price for doing nothing. When I look at the things that are available to us today, and I keep asking myself, as a people, we work so hard. As a people, we have drive, we have hunger, we have energy. The final piece we have a problem with is we are not strategic. We are not strategic. We are not strategic. We don't think in decades. We think in 1 year. We think in 6 months. Successful people don't think like that. You must be able to think in decades. That's why I don't work with anybody who is not willing to invest for at least 10 years. There's no need. Because the only time you start seeing the power is when you give compound interest the capacity to grow. when you give it the ability to explode. Why do you think? Let me give you an example, guys, before we call it a day. I've already been on about an hour. That's enough. Let me give you an example, fellas. If you invest $833 every month, listen to me, $833 every month at an average return of 8% a year, and you do that every month, that is about $10,000 a year. You do that every month for the first 13 years of your life. That money will grow to 250,000. Remember, he's just been doing that 10,000 a month, a year. So if you multiply 10 by 13, that's 130,000. So really, you have only invested 130,000, but at the end of the 13th year, your portfolio will be worth 250,000. So your money has already grown over 12 years by 12,000, by $120,000. That's about averagely 10,000 a year. But that's not even where the power lies, guys. I want you to pay attention to me here. Listen to me and listen to me very carefully. If you continue doing the same thing from that 13th year where your money has grown to 250, if you continue doing the same thing without stopping, by the 26th year, your money would have grown to $1 million. So the first 13 years, it grew to 250,000. The next 13 years, it grew by $750,000. That's why I cannot work with people who don't have patience, who are not disciplined, who don't have a long-term thinking. One of the challenges we face as a community, we got short-term thinking. We like short-term stuff. We like things that we plant today and we harvest tomorrow. If you know the story of the Chinese bamboo tree, the Chinese bamboo tree takes 5 years to sprout from the ground. When it sprouts from the ground after the 5th year, it takes another between 6 weeks to 90 days to grow by 70 feet. I want you to understand me, guys. Hear me here. It takes 5 years for the Chinese bamboo tree, when you plant it, to sprout across the above the ground. But once it sprouts above the ground, it takes it between 6 weeks to 90 days. It will grow to 70 feet. So the question I ask myself, did it take 6 weeks to 90 days to grow to 70 feet, or it took 5 years? The natural answer is 5 years. The only difference is if I plant a bamboo tree in front of my house today, and I wake up every morning, I pour water on it. In a few weeks, my neighbors expect to see something growing. If they don't see it after 6 months, after 1 year, I am sure they are going to call protective services. That this guy is cuckoo. Something he has lost it. He has lost something in his head. I am sure they're going to do that. But after the 5th year, if they are just patient enough, they will see something sprout through the ground. And then 90 days after it sprouts, they'll see a 70 feet tall tree. And that's when it all comes together, guys. Don't play the short game. Don't play the short game, guys. Don't play the short game. Because when you play the short game, what happens is that you don't think in generations. You think in moments. Rich people think in generations. A lot of the things you are doing, you will benefit from some, but some of it you will not. And that's okay. The people who will come after you will benefit and build more. We don't play the short game. We play the long game, right? That's why I talk to you a lot about investing, because investing, especially investing on the stock market in assets, is a long game, not trading. Don't go and be trying to trade your money. Somebody tell you they'll take the money, they'll buy assets, they'll sell it tomorrow, you'll make money. Forget that stuff. Forget that stuff. Only 2% of people make money that way. 98% of everybody who've made money is just through investing and being patient and continue to do the same boring thing over and over and over and over. I hope you have a wonderful evening, guys. Oliver Diaga, my brother from England. Thanks for tuning in. And Gungungu from Cameroon. Guys, thank you very much, you all. I hope it made sense today. If I made sense today, if you enjoyed the session, leave me a heart in the comment section. Leave me a sticker. Share this video. Join my communities. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, follow me. So that way, whenever I have live streams coming up, which I do every night from 7:30 Central Time, I usually come on the live stream hoping to do about 45 minutes, 1 hour at the most. But usually it gets a little bit intense and we push it a little further. But I hope it's valuable for you. It's worth your time. I hope it's made sense to you. Take this information and don't do something, please. Act on one thing you learned today. Do me that favor. Take one thing you learned today and go implement it, please. Don't just keep it. Don't admire it. Go implement it, please. All right. That is going to make a difference. That is going to change things significantly for you. I'll see you tomorrow on the next live stream, and I'll leave the link down in the comment section so that way you can also register for the upcoming free masterclass on Thursday. Guys, until the next time, be well, be blessed, and by all means, never stop being a blessing to somebody. And I'll see you on the next live stream. Bye for now.